Chase Burns has range of motion problems, and the Reds are making up new words. Well, we've got some words for them on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm Jeff Carr. He's Steve Offenbaker. And this is the Locked On Reds podcast brought to you by MLB The Show 26. Visit MLBTHE.show/locked-on and use the code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Pre-order now. Available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. MLB The Show 26 is rated E for everyone. On today's show, a little bit later on, are we concerned about how little Eugenio Suarez is actually playing for Venezuela? They did just beat Japan, but Eugenio Suarez hasn't been getting a ton of at-bats. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. In just a few minutes, the Reds bullpen is taking shape thanks to a couple of guys being sent down to minor league camp and an unfortunate injury. We'll give you an update on that. But we will begin with the starting rotation because it seems as though the guys who are healthy are healthy? Question mark. I mean, we're learning new words. The word of the day here is deload on the Locked On Reds podcast. And while I am aware of the words upload and download and reload and unload, and yeah, I guess we're adding other letters to the word load today. But the words that I want the Cincinnati Reds to understand is they need to get this right.
Yeah, because this, again, is taking shape as that thing that always happens around the Cincinnati Reds. And I'm still mad about the Hunter Green stuff. For those of you that caught the show the other day,
it's safe to say you're going to be mad till July.
This maybe, but this doesn't help, Jeff, because Chase Burns comes to a microphone and talks to guys that get paid to report what he says, and he tells them, this was just scheduled deload, and my arm is fine. I've got it's great. My arm is great. And then not 24 hours later, Chase Burns has range of motion problems. There's something going on with his arm. Are you kidding me right now? Come on. Just look at the camera and tell the truth. Just look at the media and be transparent and say what's going on. If you did that from the start, if Chase Burns had said, you know what, we cut it in half because my arm, it's a little stiff. It's not moving the way that I like for it to. So we backed off. We're going to go get it looked at. Cool. That's transparency. That's truth. But do not continue to try and lie to people that are a lot smarter than you think they are. And that is us I'm talking about. That is you I'm talking about. Stop lying, stop minimizing, and just be transparent. Say what's going on and get the medical staff to look at what's happening.
I don't know that they were lying, but I think it definitely was odd the way that this messaging came across, because there were reports that Chase Burns was scheduled to throw 4 innings in a spring training game the other day. He threw 2. And he threw less than 30 pitches in those 2 innings, and he was pulled. And there were a lot of people, including myself, that when we saw that, were like, excuse me. And then, come to find out, he's okay. And then he's not. Because there were quotes from Terry Francona, at least on Charlie's chalkboard, and I know some other guys wrote about this as well, too, but on Charlie's chalkboard, Terry Francona said, quote, "We're nipping this in the bud right now. He's really young. And he doesn't have a ton of experience, even like with routines. So Derek Johnson and the medical people want to try to get him on this routine to keep his range of motion, because that's really important with pitchers." Steve, I'm not going to lie. This is the first time that I've heard of a pitcher having range of motion issues, but they're not hurt. So I find it odd that we're continuing to find ways to describe a pitcher that's not fully healthy. The other problem with this, though, is because, okay, sure, he's not healthy, fine, he won't start the season on time, whatever. That they haven't said that, by the way, but that was me inferring won't start the season on time. So then your brain does that and infers that, and then your brain goes to Brandon Williamson. Okay, Brandon Williamson's going to be ready to go. Well, Terry Francona on Brandon Williamson, quote, "He has a 5-pitch mix. His breaking ball is very slow, but spins tight. He has mid-90s velocity at times. He's 6'6" lefty. I love that. There's a lot to like. Our biggest challenge, probably his too, is getting on a 5-day routine. You come back from a surgery like that, and one day you feel pretty good, and the next day You try to navigate getting that routine. That's just going to take some time. That's not his fault. He has done a great job. Steve, if you were to separate both of these things right here, the Chase Burns thing and the Brandon Williamson thing, I would say either one of them, they're not starting the year on, they're not starting the season on time. They're starting in AAA. Steve, one of these guys has to start. They got to have 5 starting pitchers. Where did we go from the depth to now we're talking about everybody is just not ready?
Oh, buddy, I hope Chase Petty's still throwing and getting himself stretched out because things don't look good. Look, I want to debunk some more of this because right now everybody in this organization is talking in code words. For all of you out there, if one of your arms doesn't move the way that you like it to, range of motion. If you can't reach forward, up, left, and right the way that you like, what's the reason for that? Always, every single time. Because it hurts when you do one of these things and you have limited range of motion. If Chase Burns has range of motion problems, he has pain in his arm. You can't have it both ways. Those things don't separate. So they're trying to talk in code and not say the words, Chase Burns has pain. Chase Burns' arms hurt. Chase Burns is sore. They're trying to not say those things.
Between the lines.
Be transparent with Brandon Williamson. Buzzwords, code words, secret speak. He has to get on a 5-day routine. That means that he has in between residual soreness. He has in between residual pain. He's not ready to go every 5th day. That's the truth. Say that. Both of these guys are at this point in spring training a little bit delayed. I think they can get Chase Burns back on track, Jeff. He's going to have to start doing some stretches. He's going to have to start doing range of motion exercises. Anybody that's ever been to PT for an upper extremity for your arm knows what that means. Range of motion exercises. You're stretching, you're reaching, you're pulling, light workout with weights. You're doing things to get that range of motion back. There's still time for him to get there before it would be his first turn to start in Cincinnati for the beginning of the season. I'm not panicking with that yet. Brandon Williamson, a little bit more concerning, but I've also said since the beginning of spring, Jeff, that they should bring Brandon Williamson along slowly and they should bring Rhett Lauder along slowly because they're both coming off of a year having not pitched. And in Williamson's case, surgery. So if they would just listen to me more, we would be okay. But apparently
LTS, listen to Steve
around here. So I'm okay. I'm okay still yet. I'm not ready to panic. I think they'll still have 5 starters that we were counting on to start the season. Rhett Lauder seemingly is going to be okay and be able to fill that spot vacated by Hunter Green right now. Brandon Williamson, I think, will get there and be right where I said we should be with him. He'll be available to this rotation, I think, May.
I agree with that. And I think that the other key part of this is that, you know, after Terry Francona's comments about Chase Burns, there's a lot of talk of like, well, you know, it's very likely Burns will still make the opening day rotation. It's just his first start or 2 will not be like, oh, hey, he can definitely go at least 6 innings tonight. Maybe he only goes 5. Maybe he only goes 4, depending on how many pitches he throws in each inning.
80 pitch.
Yeah,
80 pitch.
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, basically, and that's David Bell's April routine, really, is what we're talking about. Have guys ready to throw 80 pitches when the season starts and continue to stretch them out. That's actually what you need to do with Chase Burns, I think. Set him at 80, let him keep stretching out, and then by the time you get to the end of April, he has now stretched out to be the full-time starter guy like everybody else.
You think Derek Johnson mentioned that to Tito? He was just like, you know, we used to do this kind of thing. And then Tito like spits and he's like, all right, whatever. I guess we got to do that with Chase Burns. This is probably how it's going to go. But also like thinking about it, he started. So his start was on Thursday, I believe. And so when you look at that, his next start would line up with Tuesday. And then his next start, he would still get like 2 more starts before the season. And then his first start would likely be the beginning of the Pirates series, either the first or the second game in there somewhere. And so by that point, stretching out, okay, 28 pitches in last start. Let's say he gets to 60, 50 or 60 in his next start. I still agree with you. It's probably around 80 pitches for his first start. And so you're probably looking at 4 innings for that start against the Pirates. And you need your bullpen to be healthy and ready to go with that, which we'll talk about in a minute. There's a couple of spots in that bullpen that we need to do some figuring on.
Yeah, I think I would actually throw Chase Burns a bullpen right at the beginning of the season, maybe even like around opening day, Have him throw a little bit of a bullpen just to kind of make sure he's good where he's at. And then you're right. I think his timing lines up for sure with that Pittsburgh Pirates.
Because he'd be on an extra day or two of rest with his first start if he doesn't.
Right. So I would have him throw a bullpen to a couple live BP. Just kind of keep him progressing forward. If we're me, they haven't listened so far. Maybe they'll listen now. I don't know. But you're right, Jeff. The bullpen is in fact taking shape, and we're starting to get answers to some questions while other questions are being created. And we're going to get into all of that coming up next.
Today, I'm thrilled to be talking about our sponsor, MLB The Show 26. The greatest game in baseball is back. It's coming out on Wednesday, in fact, and you can pre-order now through Wednesday and get some awesome stuff. I mean, look, you're going to have a really hard time pulling yourself away from this game if you're a true baseball fan, because you get to take control of your favorite franchise. Whether it's the Cincinnati Reds, or if you're wrong and your favorite franchise is somebody else, you can take control of that team and take them all the way. See how many World Series rings you can rack up, because quite frankly, when I play, I never lose. We won't talk about what difficulty that's on, but I love MLB The Show, and MLB The Show 26 is making it even better to take control of your favorite team. And now you can visit MLBTHE.show/lockedon and use the code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Internet connection is required. You can pre-order now through Wednesday on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch. MLB The Show 26 is rated E for everyone.
Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you find the people who actually fit what you're looking for, the skills, the experience, the location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's the stat that says it all. For the minute that I'll be talking to you, companies like yours make 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of Locked On Reds are going to get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support Locked On Reds by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Reds. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Jeff always wins at MLB The Show 26 because he plays in demo mode. Thanks as always for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. We appreciate you being here.
You lower than rookie.
You already love this team. You already live this team. Elevate your game a little bit and go ad-free with Locked On Reds. You can check us out over on the Everydayer Club. It lives in the audio feed, $5 a month, $50 a year. That's going to get you uninterrupted Locked On Reds. It's also going to get you access to the exclusive Locked On Network Discord servers, where Jeff and I will be talking ball all season long, as well as every other expert from every other team network-wide. They all have channels on that Discord server. It's going to be the place to talk ball. Check it out today. The link for that is down in the show description. All right, Jeff, let's talk a little bullpen, because as fluid as things are right now in the starting rotation, there is some movement in the bullpen as well. Our guy, recent addition to this team, Caleb Ferguson, is going to start the season on the injured list. That frees up a spot. And we've seen some movement. Tejay Antone has been reassigned to minor league camp. We speculated whether or not maybe he could be in the mix for a spot. Turns out not so much, at least not at the beginning. So here we are, and it's starting to kind of coalesce as to what this 8-man bullpen is going to look like.
Yeah, there's been a couple of like Antone has moved off, but then also Caleb Ferguson is going to begin the season on the IL with an oblique injury. And so there was a spot opened up as one contender was sent to minor league camp. And I appreciated, I did see Terry Francona's comments about Tejay Antone, is that this is something that he understands is still a process. Terry Francona believes that we will see Tejay Antone at some point this season. So that'll be fun to talk about and see if that story can continue and what he can provide to this bullpen, if nothing else than just a jolt of positivity for a guy coming back from his third Tommy John surgery. But when it comes to the Caleb Ferguson of it all, the oblique injury will at least start him on the air on the IL. There still is some question as to how long that will be, but that means that there are 3 spots that are now open up on this bullpen. Multiple people, as I have been reading about this, that are in Goodyear right now and close to the team, are saying that Connor Phillips is a favorite for one of those spots. He hasn't locked it up yet, but he's being considered as one of the guys. And so that means that there are 2 spots for Sam Maul, Luis May, Zach Maxwell, and Hagen Danner. The reason that I even mention Hagen Danner is that because according to some statistics, especially when it pertains to how good his pitches have been, movement, speed, all that different stuff, he has been one of the best pitchers in spring training with how good his stuff has been. So he has kind of put himself on this list. I don't necessarily know that he is a favorite, but he has an outside shot at it. With that being said, we are talking about the Reds breaking camp with likely Connor Phillips, Sam Maul, and then one of 3 very unproven guys there at the final spot in that bullpen. And Sam Maul would be your second lefty because Brock Burke, when you look at his career, has very similar splits when it comes to righties, lefties. He's not really much stronger against lefties than he is against righties. And so you would maybe lean on Sam Maul a little bit more than you would have hoped, but at least you have him there as depth. I kind of would be shocked if the Reds break camp without him at this point.
Yeah, I'm at a loss as to what to do with that last bullpen spot right now. I would love for it to be Big Sugar. I would love for it to be Luis May. I would. Yeah. They're just so lacking in control that it makes it really scary to put those guys in the big league bullpen. Let me ask you this.
Like, have you ever seen the show Eastbound and Down? It's like Kenny Powers, but like at the very beginning of the show. Like, it just kind of feels like it's all fun, but we're not really sure about what we're going to get each time one of those guys steps on the mat.
Let me ask you this. Would you rather go with a complete unknown, or would you rather go with one of Luis May or Zach Maxwell and just hope that it's the version of them that can control the ball from time to time?
I think, I don't know, because I've been a little bit more impressed with Hagen Danner than I would have thought, because quite frankly, I gave zero thought. I was going to say thought bubbles. That's not the right word. Zero brain cells toward Hagen Danner before spring training games began. And here recently, there's just been a lot of stuff about his fastball and his slider. His fastball is upper 90s. His slider is just one heck of a big snap away from anybody's swing that's not expecting it. But he has one more out in the major leagues than you and I do on the mound. He got one out in 2023, and he's been up and down in the minors ever since. He has no option. So if you pick Hagen Danner and then things don't work out, then you're putting him on waivers. Same with Sam Maul. If you pick Sam Maul and he doesn't work out, you're putting him on waivers. I think I'm with you. I think I'd go with Maxwell or May.
Yeah, this is where I think, when you look at Danner last season, and I granted this was in Tacoma in the Pacific Coast
AAA
League.
for the Mariners. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard to pitch in the Pacific Coast League. It's just hard to do anything in the Pacific Coast League. But he had an ERA of 5.59 in, 54 games. Not, a pretty decent sample size. 56 and a third in 54 games. I think I'm going with Luis May. And then if Luis May doesn't pan out, I trade him out for Zach Maxwell because I feel like Luis May has shown at times that he can get control of that strike zone and do damage. So
he's got closer stuff for sure.
He does. So I start with Luis May. If he can't keep the train on the tracks, I send him down. I bring up Zach Maxwell, and hopefully you get Caleb Ferguson back sooner than later.
And I think the best part about all of this is that we are talking about the last spot on the bullpen. We aren't talking about setup guy. We aren't talking about, key 7th inning guy. Like, thankfully, this isn't somebody that you should be relying on a regular basis. But let me throw it back at you. Now, with all of this weirdness, and Caleb Ferguson starting the year on the IL, and reportedly he cannot get onto a routine, do you do the Brandon Williamson to the bullpen thing? Or do you say, no,
Nope.
it's routine, period, AAA, get it done?
Nope. Not with what we just heard from Terry Francona about Brandon Williamson having problems between starts. I do not want him throwing extra. I don't want him warming up extra. I don't want him doing extra. I want him focusing on, I need to be able to pitch every fifth day. So what Terry had to say out in Goodyear answers that question for me. Brandon Williamson should be nowhere near the bullpen. He should be in a routine. And if he's not going to be in the big league rotation, he needs to be in the AAA rotation and just working on things. So for me, I think the best way this plays out is you do what we just talked about with Luis May and Big Sugar. You've got Emilio Pagan as your closer. You've got Tony Santillan as your setup man. You've got the rest of these guys filling in the gaps. And if you get all the way down to that last guy in the bullpen, so be it. He's not going to be pitching in high leverage situations. And hopefully that's the Band-Aid that gets you to Caleb Ferguson coming back. And I think I'm okay with that.
I like it. I think that losing Caleb Ferguson hurts the bullpen a little bit, but it doesn't hurt it to the point that you're like, oh, this bullpen is now a weakness and we have no idea what to do.
Well, not in
March,
April. Right. Not in March, April, while everybody's fresh. Like this would be more of a problem in September. But while we're at the beginning, it's okay. It's not going to do a lot of damage in the long run. And
I will say to that point, while everybody's fresh and talking about later on in the season, there was some great words from Jeff Passan on ESPN about the Cincinnati Reds. We're going to talk about those tomorrow, so make sure that you join us then. But in just a few minutes, we're going to talk about why Eugenio Suarez not really playing all that much for Venezuela. It doesn't have me all that concerned. I'll tell you why in a minute. It's NCAA tournament time, and there's no better place to get in on all the action than over on FanDuel because they got their college basketball profit parlay boost. But when it comes to college basketball, there's no real teams that are getting into the tournament from here in the tri-state. So let's look at some MLB futures because right now the Reds are 5-1 to win the NL Central. I think that they're getting disrespected every which way. Everywhere you look at them, 5-1. The Pirates are at 6-1. There is no way that those teams are that close when it comes to the end of this season. And I think that the Reds got a real shot to win the division. So throw some money over on 5-1 odds for the Reds to win the NL Central over on FanDuel today. And like I mentioned, you can get into some college basketball, same game parlay profit boost action. Just head to FanDuel.com right now to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game.
It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is, well, a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting with a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a local store near you and book your appointment today.
If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcast app because we're on all of them out there. And that is also where the ad-free feed resides. You can join the Locked On Reds Everydayer Club and get the ad-free feed at lockedonreds.supercast.com. All right, Steve, when it comes to the World Baseball Classic, Venezuela shocked, I think, a lot of people and beat Japan. Japan's out of it and Venezuela's moving on. But our friend Eugenio Suarez isn't exactly playing every day. In fact, he's only got a couple of games. He's only got a couple of hits, albeit one of them is the long ball. I don't find this to be concerning, though, because even if this were spring training games and he had only gotten into a couple within the last week or so, I would say, okay, that makes sense. He's a veteran. He's going to be the DH for most of this season. He will play at third base some. He might play at first base every so often, although, again, we've heard some more quotes from Terry Francona out of camp. He says that Sal Stewart's going to be the primary first baseman, and he would like to see Eugenio Suarez play at third if he's playing in the field. But I say that this isn't that concerning for me. I think he is still going to be fine and ready to go for opening day.
I'm a little concerned just in having disrupted Gino's spring training for the WBC, and then he's been in 3 games. It doesn't feel worth it. It doesn't feel like the payoff is there. I like the WBC. I like the idea of it all, but I feel like this was a missed opportunity. Either you go to the WBC and you play all the time, or you stay in camp and you get comfortable with your team. He's been in 3 games. He played third base for 6 innings, first base for 3 innings. And that's it. That's it.
DH the rest of the time. Yeah.
It. So 3 games, 2 hits, one of those a home run. There's still a little bit of time. As soon as the WBC ends, Gino needs to be in the lineup pretty much every day, I think, to get that swing refined and dialed in. I'm sure he's been working behind the scenes and whatever the WBC equivalent of the backfields are. He's doing batting practice. He's getting swings. He's doing things, but I want him to be ready to go. And I don't want there to be a slow start where everybody points and says, well, he was at the WBC. He didn't get to go through his full routine. I don't want to start with that note. So I want Gino to be dialed in. I'm a little concerned, Jeff. I mean, it's not panic time. It's not, wring your hand time, but I am a little concerned about the lack of playing time for Eugenio Suarez.
Let me ask you about this, because the unquestioned captain of Venezuela, I think he's the captain, I don't know, but the unquestioned best player on Venezuela's team, Ronald Acuna Jr., has played in 5 games. Michael Garcia, third baseman, who's really awesome, plays for Kansas City, I believe. He's only played in 5 games. Is 2 games all that different? Like if Gino had played in 5 games, would you be not concerned at all?
No, I think I'd still be concerned. I've been sitting on this. I've been watching Gino. I've been kind of waiting. I'm just not sure that the trade-off of the amount of lost time from the big league club is worth this WBC format, which brings me back around to let's do the Olympics. If you missed that show, go back and watch it. Makes a whole lot more sense to me. But I'm just a little concerned, Jeff. And if Gino hits the ground running, comes out like gangbusters, hits 4 home runs on opening day, I'll have no complaints.
I think that the marching orders, let's go with that, for Eugenio Suarez for 2026 is come here and hit bombs, mash the baseball. And whatever else you do is secondary. If you have any glove whatsoever at third base, that's secondary. If you play first base at all, that's secondary. I think for that sort of plan, he has plenty of time to get that done, because all he's got to do is sight in his swing. And we've heard before that there are guys that really don't turn it on until like the last week in spring training, because the whole point is not to turn it on too early, but also not too late. There's a very fine line there in which you can do that. So I think that he has had some at bats in the WBC where he is turned on. So you could argue that he's already got it going, but he didn't have to have it going every single day. And so I kind of like this where it's been sprinkled in, and then he returns to camp and he can play every day. He's liable to play. I mean, Venezuela's got one more game, at least one more game in the semifinal against Italy. They could make the final if they beat Italy. So he might even have a chance to play 2 more games. He's probably playing in one of those 2 at the very least. And then he's going to come back and play every day. I'm sure they'll get him time at third base and time at first base, but the swing's going to be sighted in. I think for him, he's just on a different level as far as what spring training means to him, as opposed to the other guys in this lineup. And I kind of take this back to veteran players across any league, whether it be basketball, football, or baseball, or hockey, or whatever. I just don't think they need as much runway, especially since he's a hitter, to be ready for the season every single day.
Well, there's not a lot of time left, Jeff, and I think that might be the most exciting thing. We're almost there. It is a couple weeks, right? 2 weeks from now, roughly, 2 weeks until opening
It's a little
day.
under 2 weeks. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit under. So it's time to start spinning things up, getting things going. There's lots of questions, lots of things that still are not answered with this Cincinnati Reds team. We're going to continue to watch what is going on with this starting rotation right now. Watch for news on Chase Burns. Watch for what's happening with Brandon Williamson. Maybe start paying a little bit closer attention to Chase Petty, just in case, because the starting rotation surprisingly has question marks. The bullpen, we talked about that. There's still some spots remaining that need to be filled. Think that's going to come down to Luis May or Big Sugar, Zach Maxwell. One of those guys is going to get a look on opening day, I think, at least as far as the roster goes. And of course, the hitters got to get dialed in as we head towards this team heading back north to Cincinnati. Jeff and I are going to have you covered all the rest of the way of the spring and gear up for opening day, where we are going to be with you every single day covering the Cincinnati Reds team.
And Jeff Passan says that the Cincinnati Reds can win a playoff series, which we'll talk about tomorrow.
We're going to cover that as well. Make sure you're subscribed. If you haven't clicked that button, why not? You're here every day. Just click the button so you don't miss anything, because we're coming your way with extra content this year, folks. Not only are you going to get the daily show with Jeff and I, you're going to get the postcast with Tim Daniel after each and every Reds game. You're also going to get a lot of bonus content. We're talking about doing some fun things all season long, some pregame stuff, some lineup breakdowns, some deeper dives into things that we don't just really ever have time to get into on the Mothership Show, on the 30-minute Locked On Reds that we have for you each and every day. So make sure you're subscribed. Click that notification bell. Those things are going to drop. You don't want to miss them. And of course, we'll be sprinkling in some lives along the way. And if you've got those two buttons clicked, you'll get notified when those go down as well. And that is where we're going to wrap up today's edition of Locked On Reds. Thanks, as always, for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. For the audio folks, go check out Locked On MLB. Sully's got you covered over there with Major League Baseball from a national perspective. And former Reds pitcher Mike Stanton has his own show over there as well, where he is covering Major League Baseball from a player's perspective. Check both of those things out in the audio feeds. For the video folks, stick around. We're going to redirect you right over to Locked On's first ever 24/7 national YouTube channel, where all of the experts of the Locked On network are talking ball 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to give you your sports fix. We're going to send you over there here in just a second. We'll be back in your feeds tomorrow with the news, the notes, the rumors, the information, and the reports to keep you locked on Reds every single day.
Got Jeff Passan holding it down for all of us Jeffs out there, saying smart things like the Reds could win a playoff
Finally,
series.
There's one. Whew, that was close.
Hey.